Heritage Wine and Liquor is your neighborhood wine and spirits store, located in the Denver Tech Center. Founded over 35 years ago, they continue to be a leading retailer in South Metro Denver. They provide a uniquely friendly and welcoming environment. Conveniently located in the Heritage Shopping Center in Centennial, 7475 East Arapahoe Road. As you walk around their old world 14,000 square foot store, you'll discover a vast selection of fine wines, microbrews, and spirits from around the world to local distillers and breweries. Visit heritagewineandliquor.com. Save money at Heritage Wine and Liquor.
The wines of Marchesi Torrigiani, Sangiovese, Cabernet Sauvignon, and Merlot. The Torrigiani family joined the world in 1280, just north of Siena. Exposure to the sun in early spring and fall breezes from the Mediterranean Sea cool the vines during the hottest part of the summer, resulting in consistent wines for you to enjoy with great food and great friends all year long. Enjoy their wines with prime rib, ham dishes, and leg of lamb. Visit them at western-importer.com. Please ask your retailer for the wines of Torrigiani.
Welcome back to Wine Guys Radio. I am Keith.
Todd Raessler.
Or Mike's not on. It's
and
on now.
Mary Courtney.
Mary Courtney.
And Jean-Frédéric.
Jean F. And a little Switchfoot there. If you don't know Switchfoot, check them out. They're good. I like them. And we're talking about Hugel. Hugel.com. And Hugel is... Jean F., thank you so much for coming in the studio.
Pleasure.
I'm going down to the Denver Food and Wine Fest with Jean F. after. He's going to be downtown in the...
We'll be pouring 2 wines. So if you have the opportunity to come by, say hello.
Exactly. Come on down. We'll be there. And Brian Moore will be there from Frederick Wildman. And you know, Hugel is one of those wines. I don't care who you are. You know the label.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's everywhere. It's not everywhere,
distinct.
but it's in your finer wine shops,
and
restaurants.
Very remarkable. I mean, the label, we have a yellow, gold, and red label for more than 90 years now.
90 years. And you've been around since 1639?
Yep.
That's crazy.
Little bit of experience.
Yeah. a little
bit.
And it's really cool. When I was at lunch with Jean F., and, you know, I appreciate you coming in. You're 23 years old.
Yep.
You know, he spent some time in New York in school. You're heading back to...
Then Memphis, and then back to New York, and then back to France for the harvest.
Right, but then after that, you're going to Australia?
No, London.
London? But you're going to do some internship somewhere else.
Part of the Commonwealth.
I'm planning for next year to do a little bit of winemaking in New Zealand, but this is no New Zealand or Australia. There's no big plans right now.
And as I say, we need the young people to come into the industry, whether winemakers, sales reps, or whoever, and to start taking over. And that's what you're doing. You're starting to take over.
Of course.
The winemaking.
That's
right. You got to learn, man.
I'm trying to make myself useful.
Yes. Very good. That's good at 23.
He is the next generation of winemaking. That's is exciting to see.
It is. I think it's a great thing. So let's talk about, we're just going to get to the wine. So Hugel Gentil?
Gentil.
Gentil
in French.
Gentil.
In good French accent, gentil.
Gentil.
And it's the 2010. Gentil means?
It means kind. In French.
Okay.
Like gentle.
Gentle, right? Kind.
Yep.
And before we go, Alsatian, a lot of us say, go ahead, Todd.
Yeah, if you are referring to wines from Alsace and you're referred to them as Alsatian, we learned recently that it is a very different meaning.
The meaning actually for Alsatian, and I might do the mistake a few times during this show because we're so used to use this word, but an Alsatian is actually a race of dog.
Dog.
It refers to a dog.
It's a breed of dog.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we won't call your wines dogs.
So instead of saying Alsatian, we will say
wines of Alsace.
Wines of Alsace.
Alsace wines.
Yeah. So let's talk about the wine. So tell us a little bit about this wine.
This wine is our textbook simplest wine.
Okay.
Basically, my granduncle used to say, and my granduncle used to say a lot of things. You'll hear it quite often. He used to say that always judge a winery through their most simple wine. Especially, all those wine critics
who
had the opportunity to taste that many wines. all wineries always end up the tasting with some of the most expensive wines and some of the most marvelous wines. But bottom line is, most consumers will drink the least expensive. My granduncle, once again, always used to end up his tasting with a glass of Gentil. Was the first and the last one he was pouring.
Now, Gentil, the varietal here is?
So, blend of the 5 major grapes from Alsace. So, a frame of Sylvaner, and then the finesse of Riesling, the body of Pinot Gris, and the fruit of Muscat and Gewürztraminer.
I like how you define each one, because each grape brings a different thing to the table.
Each grape bringing its own characteristics and its own aspects, beautiful aspects.
Yeah,
and a lot of people who are just learning about wine, when they hear Riesling and Gewürztraminer, they assume that the wine is sweet. These wines are definitely not sweet. These are a beautiful, dry, white wine.
Definitely.
High acid.
And this is our philosophy. Alsace had always been a region for bone dry white wines because we're a region of gastronomy, and with food you need your wines to be dry. So we stick to a very traditional style of bone dry wines. And some people, often people tend to call them old fashioned. I would say that tradition is not really old fashioned. They're traditional, but tradition is getting kind of trendy nowadays.
Right. No doubt. Yeah, I wouldn't agree with old fashioned either. In fact, that's a drink. That's nice. Old fashioned. My grandma used to drink those.
Yeah, I'm about 30 years from drinking old fashions.
Are you? Yeah, you can only start drinking those when you're like 65.
Right.
Of course.
So we know the varietals, and retail on this, typically when a consumer finds this in a store, would be what?
Under $15.
I know. That's
around
crazy.
15.
Yeah. All the way from France.
French white wine for around $15.
And how would you describe it? The wine itself?
Joyful. Full of joy.
Full of joy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's just lively. It's expressive. It's, it doesn't need sweetness to be enjoyable. It's just refreshing, light. Doesn't see any oak. So it's all about very fine acidities and freshness.
And Mary Courtney, what do you think of it?
Oh, I like it. It is dry, but I really like how it's got a really nice acid to it. And interestingly enough, when I smelled it the first time, all I thought about was like a Dijon mustard that was sweet.
Really?
Yeah, like a honey mustard. That is the first thing I smelled. It's pretty spectacular because it has that sweet smell, but it definitely has like an herbaceousness to it. And
right.
I don't know. It was something that I'd never smelled before.
Yeah, it's great when a wine has, a different aspect on the nose and the palate. Todd, what do you think of it?
I like its light crispness, but what I really get out of it that I enjoy is the minerality of the area, which is, for those people that don't know the region, it's a very unique growing area that has a very great tradition. As a matter of fact, last night, what I thought was interesting is I picked up the book Wine and War, which has been out for a long time. That's about the
region. There's a part of the book which is on my family, actually.
Yeah, it's
okay. Wine and War is the name of the book.
Yeah, and it goes back to World War II when the French were being occupied by the Germans, and the battleground over this region was over the wine, and there was a lot of stories about the wine people fighting the Germans in this region. So it's very cool.
And especially, you cannot talk about Alsace without talking, and you cannot talk about wines without talking about history, because basically each region, each wine refers to a region with its history. Wine always refers to people, so each wine has the identity of its winemaker and is influenced by the history of its region. Right,
and it keeps going on. I mean, when you're 60 years old, you'll have that history. And then your kids will have, it just keeps going and going and going.
How close are you to Germany, just so people can get a perspective?
Not far at all, which often caused us a few troubles. But basically, we're 45 minutes drive from Germany.
Okay.
Just have to cross the bridge. European Union, you do not need your passport, so just cross the bridge.
There you go, cross the bridge.
And German's view of Riesling, as we all know, is very different than what we're tasting today.
Right. So we have, once again, we're the proof of our wines are the proof of our history. We have most of the German grape varieties, Riesling, Gewürztraminer, and those varieties are still vinified in the French way, meaning that they're French wines made of German grapes.
Exactly. So let's talk about the second one. We have 5 wine sayers, so we're getting into the first 2. So this is Pinot Blanc.
Pinot Blanc, which is one of the simplest grape varieties in Alsace. It's a close cousin of the Chardonnay. So very diplomatic grape to start with Alsace. You do not, it's sometimes hard for people to go from their regular white wine to bone dry Alsace Riesling with very high acidity. So Pinot Blanc tends often to be a good alternative and a good diplomatic way to start with Alsace wines.
Now, somebody's out there. Is that kind of like Pinot Grigio? Because it starts with that name, that word Pinot. So Pinot Blanc, Pinot Grigio, Pinot Gris. Is there any relation?
Same family.
Same family. Okay.
But different grape varieties.
And what would you say the flavor profile? How different is it compared to, say, Pinot Grigio?
Much more herbal. Much more herbal.
So
would be green tea, would be freshly cut grass.
Okay.
So much more on herbal aromas.
Yeah, he's not saying horrible. He's saying herbal.
Herbal. Sorry for my French accent.
No,
I'm working on it.
I think everyone loves the French accent.
Herbaceous. That's right. It's herbaceous. And so, so the Hugel 2009 Pinot Blanc in retail and stores would be?
A little bit above the Gentil. So.
Okay, so 16, 17. Okay. And Mary Courtney, what do you think?
I like this one. It has a bit of an effervescence to it. It's almost like there's little sparkling bubbles coming out or something. I don't know.
And what is very important with this wine always has to be representative of its vintage. So this is 09 vintage, which was a little warmer than 2010, that the 2010 we had before.
Right.
Always representative of its vintage. It has a little bit more body, has a little bit more fruit, nice structure, a little less acid. So once again, very, very diplomatic.
Todd?
What I like about this is there's a lot of acidity in this wine. It's almost like a wine that will hydrate you.
Yep.
I mean, and it's definitely a wine that will be for food. So I'm curious to hear what you would pair with this because it's a fantastic.
This is a simple, very simple wine. This is the kind of wines that you would enjoy with almost every simple everyday course. Like a salad. Imagine this really chilled on the terrace with a sunny weather like today, with a goat cheese salad. Simply
That's
relaxing.
Beautiful. We don't have terraces in the United States.
That sounds like lunch to me.
I know.
In the garden. Let's say in the garden.
In the garden, on a patio, at a restaurant, or wherever. Can you?
Charcoal.
And sometimes you can do red meat with white wines. Could you go down that path here?
You can go almost every single path with those wines.
Choose your path.
Yeah.
In life, even with wine. Right, Todd?
It's like the story that you read and you choose which way you're going to go, and then it leads to an ending. Remember those books?
I do. I do remember those.
Yeah. That's
vaguely.
It's been a long time since childhood.
Right, it has been. It keeps getting longer, farther away.
I was just thinking that we have a dish at Charcoal Restaurant, a pork chop with cider reduction. And I think this would go really nicely with it because it has that acid balance, like you were saying. It's
great wines. And I want to come back and talk about the vintages that Jean F. said in the car. We've had 5 great vintages in a row. Well, we're going to talk about that here in a couple minutes here on Wine Guys Radio. I'm Keith.
Todd Raessler.
And Mary Courtney.
With J.F. Hugel.
And we'll be back in 2. Let's talk some more Alsatian wines.
Wine from Alsace.
The dogs.
Cheers.